"Oh, you're a one-man band?" He said, "Yeah, you'll never be able to scale like that." He said, "You need a team."
I've never moved and my life didn't improve.
I actually had an accident like 7.5 years ago where I fell off of a palm tree. I used to be a tree trimmer.
No shit. I don't understand why you guys are sending out contract and not like keeping the customer on the phone. So walk me through your contract process.
I'm the perfect person to ask that because I used to be that guy.
All right, guys, welcome to the Leads to Deals podcast, where we talk about everything from leads to deals and everything we talk about leads to deals. If you hear it means you're driven to like level up your life, skyrocket your financial success, and master the art of sales and entrepreneurship. The podcast is for you, the go-getters, the deal makers, and the future multi-millionaires. Today's episode, it's exciting, man. I'm really amped about this one. It's going to be packed with insights and strategies to help you crush your goals. Before we dive in, I kind of have 3 action steps. Hit the subscribe button, give me a virtual high five, and my guest today, a virtual high five by hitting the like button, and share this episode with your network. Obviously, this episode is proudly sponsored by SynergyData.io, and I'm thrilled to welcome on today's episode an extraordinary young man. Is a guy that I've had my eyes on like maybe a year and a half, 2 years in the industry. I've seen him making waves in the world of real estate investing, particularly virtual real estate investing. I found out he's in 6 separate states. He sets really ambitious goals for himself. So I think he's got a true like blue collar background into white collar investing and real estate while also maintaining authenticity. I think his journey of personal growth and business success is sure to inspire you. So with that being said, join me and welcome into the show, Omar Lopez.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Hey, it's an honor. You know, I was telling you that I wasn't sure if it was you or your team reaching out to me. I was pretty excited. I said, damn, I'm going to be on this podcast with Scott Moore. So thank you for having me, brother.
Dude, it means a lot even from that side from you, because like I see these young hustlers out there. I see these young entrepreneurs, and it's something I train my leaders on here. Like sometimes you'll get a leader who doesn't want to grow the leaders below them because they're like afraid of them. There's an ego thing. They don't want that guy to surpass them. I'm like, no, man, like I want to know everybody, guys that are ahead of me, guys that are beside me, and guys that I can foster. And like, I see you, you're like, bam, you're out there doing these things. I'm like, yo, why is he doing it? Why is that so special? So like, I want to learn from you, but I also want to see if maybe our relationship can impact others and then even kind of selfishly impact myself, man. So I'm excited to hear your story. How old are you, Omar? I didn't really wrap that around.
Yeah, I'm 30 years old.
Okay, so you young buck, baby. You young. I love it. I love it, man. Dude, I know that after reading in your story, you're originally from the West Coast, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any family that's being affected by the fires or anything out there right now by any chance?
No, most of my direct family is in Palm Springs, 2 hours away from Los Angeles. I do have some family that lives in LA. I don't think they live near the fires. That's kind of more the unfortunately the affluent areas. But I should probably check up on them now that you're kind of reminding me.
Dude, it's crazy out there. You know what's so crazy is when the Maui wildfires hit and now this. And listen, our hearts go out for everybody. But I know there's so many investors like wheels that are spinning. It's going to, when the dust settles, it's going to be a brave new world out there. But so you're West Coast dude. You're 30 years old now. How'd you end all the way up in Miami as like a young entrepreneur hustler?
Yeah, so I got out here about 2.5 years ago, and I had visited Florida, Miami a couple times, and I was just inspired. I remember I came to the 10X Growth Con back in 2019 with Grant Cardone. I stayed in Brickell, and I wrote in my journal, I'm going to live out in Miami one day. I didn't think it was going to happen so fast, but I kept coming out to Florida, and I just kept falling in love with it. And 2022... was a year where I was just setting uncomfortable goals. And I'm very intentional with my goal setting. I'll take a full day to just sit in my thoughts and journal, visualize like, all right, what do I want to do? And I said, you know what? I think I want to move to Miami. So I told my wife, I said, hey, let's move to Miami or what? It was a little...
You ain't say it like that. Ain't no man ever been like, hey, let's move to Miami or what?
Well, I was about to say it was a tough sell.
Yeah.
I had a seller on there, which we're probably going to talk about sales right now. Yeah. So that was the sell in and of itself.
No shit.
And, ultimately we ended up coming over here and I set the goal. I said, I'm going to move to Miami, Florida by mid-year. And when we least expected it, we came over here and we were just coming on a regular trip. But then we started looking at places and I just set my mind for it. The reason was because I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, so I'm a big believer in embracing discomfort. So I said, you know what? I got to leave the nest. My parents live like a couple blocks away. But I said, you know what? I got to get out of the nest. I got to put my back to the wall. I got to set up an operation and I got to really just test myself to see what I'm all about. Because if I can move across the country, get away from the comfort and just set up shop, provide my own income, then I can do anything.
Yeah, I tell this to a lot of the young people. For me personally, I've never moved and my life didn't improve. You know what I mean? And it's just something like you said about leaving, that change of scenery, that elevation in lifestyle, whatever it may be. And a lot of times it's leaving baggage behind. And I say this with love to family, but family sometimes includes limiting beliefs, particularly your older family, because they're already set in their ways or they've already had that really bright fire get dim. And so like moving away sometimes is the plug that you need to kind of grow and move to that next level. You've talked about goals like, dude, I love hearing a guy talk. This is what I expected from Omar. Like, this is the guy that it's all goal-based, but how did you learn that stuff? Like, did you have a good mentor or how do you be inspired enough to get away from everybody?
No, I actually never had a mentor. The way that I got started in real estate, I actually never thought I was going to be in real estate. I actually had an accident, like 7.5 years ago where I fell off of a palm tree. I used to be a tree trimmer.
No shit.
Yeah, I was in landscaping and I used to be a tree trimmer. I used to climb up to these freaking 80, 90 foot palm trees. I grew up as a kid, 6 years old, working hard with my dad on Saturdays. My dad's a Mexican immigrant. So I started growing up working hard with him. And then I had my own little gardening route. And I started trimming trees because that was like the thing that would pay you a little bit more. Like as a tree trimmer, it's more risky. And I became good at it. But one time, this palm tree was a little brittle in the middle. I climbed it. There's a little practice where you trim one tree, you hang a harness, and you kind of swing to the surrounding palm trees around there. Well, mine ended up breaking, and I came down, crashed on a brick wall on my ass.
Damn.
And I fractured a vertebrae and everything. So after that, yeah, I thought I had to change my life. So I got into HVAC for a little bit. And I thought I wanted
HVAC installation, HVAC sales,
technician, like a
technician.
Tech.
They pay okay too, man. I know some good buddies who started in that, and it's like it's not the worst.
Right. So for me, it was more like, all right, it's not as hard as trimming, and I get to get paid more. But during that time, I was also hanging around. I had a previous years to that, I was hanging around with the wrong crowd, so I kind of caught myself hanging around with the wrong crowd again. And I had this one time that I was like, you know what? Enough is enough. Like, I'm done. I didn't want to start falling into those old habits. And I started reading, went to the local library, started picking up books, started watching YouTube University. And I started seeing, different ways to get wealthy. At first, I thought I wanted to get rich, but then I was like, you know what? I want freedom. And so I seen real estate. So I started realizing, all right, I got to pick one lane, right? I got to pick one thing. There was crypto, e-commerce, drop shipping. I got to pick one thing. And it was real estate. So after that, I just started going to local real estate meetings, different seminars, reading books, podcasts, started doing a couple of deals. And yeah, that's kind of how it all progressed.
Do you think it was what your pops wanted? For you to go into like tree and agriculture, or did he want you the whole time to be doing something else other than something like he was doing?
No, I think, he looks at me now and he's very proud. I know that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, in the beginning, I think maybe he wasn't really sure what I was going to do because he had seen me for 4 years, like fucking up, right? And they had that mentality.
He was just happy you just had a job then. He was like, you ain't running the streets no more. I'm happy.
Right. So they have the mentality of working hard. And then,
Yeah.
kind of like you said, your family, you love them, but they have a different mindset. So maybe
Yeah.
once you see me at first, I was in education mode, reading books and all that stuff. I still lived with them. And I think maybe he used to see me like, man, what is this guy doing? He's not working hard. So he must not be doing something. So maybe there were some sort of remarks but in my mind, I was like, watch, just watch. I'm onto something. And then I started doing a couple of deals. I actually started flipping mobile homes. I became like the mobile home investor in my town. That's how I got started, just flipping mobile homes before wholesaling, selling them on notes, selling them on paper. And so he's seen all that. He started seeing me moving. So he started seeing money coming in. And he's like, okay, this guy's onto something. So after that, he just like, all right, do what you got to do. I could see you're making progress. So in the beginning, I don't really think it wasn't that he preferred to see me doing landscaping, but there was this moment where when I was in education mode, I think he thought that maybe I wasn't really up to anything. Like this guy, if you're not using your hands, if you're not working hard, you're not doing anything, right? So educating myself is like, all right, what are you doing? Are you just like sitting around all day or something? Yeah.
Yeah, my dad, kind of similar. My dad was a roofer his entire life. So super blue collar. His dad was a roofer. And it's like, I was destined, Omar, to be slinging a hammer. And this was back in the day. Like I watch videos or something on Instagram now. They'll come in my feed. And like the technology, I wish my dad would have had today's technology back then because it would have been so easy on his body. But he used to take me to these job sites because my older brother was a degenerate. And he used to take me to these job sites because my older brother had already dropped out of school, was already there on the roofs with him. And he would make me do the gruntiest of grunt work just to scare me out of it. Like, dude, I'm going to make sure you never do this as a full-time job, which is, just being on roofs all day. And so for me, I'm very similar to you. He didn't know what I was going to do. And he was very questionable for a certain period of time. But once he saw some things happen, I got a text from the other day about how proud he was, dude. It's dope, man. It's dope to be able to get out of those situations where not everybody's able to get out of them, and then to find a legit way to make money. And for me, that's an inspiration from doing these podcasts and learning your guys' industry is like, you can make real cash here if you're dedicated and focused and you follow the right processes and you actually pick up the phone and you do those types of things. So for you, let's talk about your sales career, man. This is leads to deals. So how did you learn how to talk to people in mobile homes? And how did you learn how to just do that whole conversation space as a 20-some-year-old kid who's never ddone real estate talking about, I'm gonna buy your house?
So I've always been pretty good at talking. I've always been an extrovert ever since, I was young. I think I've just had that knack of just talking to people, not being shy.
Yeah.
I know some other people or other kids, they're afraid to talk to other people, but I think there was a little moment that could have been hard for me, but I just always had the determination, because I think I just had those 4 years where I felt that I had wasted my life, just partying, doing drugs, drinking and all that. And so I had hit my rock bottom. It wasn't that bad. Yep. It was my rock bottom. And I was just determined to just make my parents proud, make myself proud. So I was a little nervous. I remember I went to my first RIA, my first real estate meeting, and not having anything to talk about, and seeing some people talk about investing in multifamily and commercial properties and everything. And I just knew I'm gonna be having those types of conversations one day. So I think just being so determined and door knocking in mobile home parks and all that, just it wasn't that hard looking back, because I wanted to talk and I was just determined.
So what does that look like? Like I've heard door knocking before, but no, I literally, out of everybody I've ever talked in this industry, Omar, because I've had family. I didn't grow up inside, but I've spent a lot of holidays and summers in the mobile home parks as a kid. That's not the right community to be door knocking all the time. There's some wild, crazy things. It's like its own country inside some of these mobile home parks. It's got its own laws and its own rules in there. So what was it like? What kind of crazy stuff did you see inside of the mobile home park door knocking, which are the flimsiest doors ever too, by the way? They're like this aluminum doors. It's like, damn, what'd you see in here?
Yeah. So in Palm Springs, not all the mobile home parks were bad because Yeah, there
It's
were
like
some
senior citizens ones. Is that what it
yeah,
is?
for citizens. There were some bad ones. I did a couple of deals and some bad ones, but nothing crazy. I did a lot of deals in senior citizen parks. I mean, if we're talking about something bad, there was this one mobile home park that I was managing. I did a lot of deals in there because it was one of my local mentors who owned that park, and we had a little partnership agreement where I was going to manage the park. He was going to give me a percentage of the rents and a percentage of ownership through the years.
Nice.
And I would fill up his park. So I would my very first deal that I ever got paid on was a mobile home that I moved from one park to his park. So it wasn't even a real estate deal per se.
Yeah.
Home, right? But I ended up grabbing this mobile home. He paid me an incentive. He paid me 10,000 cash, and he said, "But you do whatever you got to do with that deal. You bring it to my park, and you sell it for how much ever you want." That's what I did. I grabbed the mobile home, put it in his park. I ended up fixing it up a little bit, and I sold it on paper. So that was my very first deal.
Nice.
That I got paid on.
You still hold that note?
I still hold that note. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels good, baby. Good for you. And for people that don't understand what we're talking about, he bought the property, and then I assume you bought it in full, right? You didn't wrap it?
Yeah, I bought it in full.
Yeah. So he bought this mobile home for cheap in full, moved it over to a new place, spruced it up a little bit, and then sold it to somebody who probably couldn't afford to buy it in cash. And so he's the bank on this deal. That's the thing too. I was just at an event, and one of my clients is starting to sell their entire portfolio. So we helped him build the portfolio, sending him leads. And he's like, dude, I'm literally just selling everything, but I'm selling them all on notes to Spanish speaking buyers. And it just opens up your brain like, oh, there's so many different ways to monetize these transactions out there. It's like, I don't have to just flip it and get a little bit of cash. I don't have to just wholesale it and get a little bit of cash. This allows me to now have some monthly income coming in from this property. So is that what your first few deals were notes or?
Yeah, that's what my first few deals were. They were, because I was hanging around the cash flow crowd. Like a lot of my mentors in those areas, they were all about holding, building up your portfolio and everything. So that was my mindset. Oh, cash flow, cash flow. And so I did a lot of those. Then I sold some cash, and then I started running out of money because if you're doing these deals, you're tying up some money. You're not able to refi these.
Yep.
So part of my next selling journey was promoting for private money. I used to go to the RIAs, and when I didn't even need the money, I started preparing myself, and I would stand up on stage and I would just introduce myself to the whole crowd in Riverside, California. And I would just tell everybody, hey, my name's Omar. I'm an up and coming investor. I buy and sell a lot of mobile homes. I don't need the money yet, but I think I will. I'm going to sell some of these notes eventually. So if there are any investors out there that need a good rate of return on your money, get my info down, and eventually we can probably do a deal. I did that multiple times. Pretty nervous up there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not the greatest at public speaking yet, but I get away with it. And so eventually I needed some money, so I ended up selling 2 notes. Pulled some cash, and then from there, I ended up reinvesting that to more deals. By this time, I actually started buying some more properties to hold on to myself. I did a bunch of little seller finance deals that I bought on seller finance. So I would get this money that I just started rolling over. Next thing you know, I just started creating wealth and just doing money from nothing, if you will, from raising private money, selling notes, little cash flow here, and here we are.
And this is all while you're out in Cali, right? So this is like the foundation of your sales career, foundation of your entrepreneurial career is all out there.
Yeah.
Was it tough to make that jump, though, to leave that? Because it sounds like you got established boots on the ground. You're doing deals there. Ultimately, I heard in your journey, you go to what's called a virtual model, where you're not necessarily doing deals in the place where you're physically located at, which opens up some doors. So how did you make that pivot, and what kind of pitfalls did you encounter?
Yeah. So looking back, it was a little tough, moving across the country, but that was one thing, right? I wanted to move across the country and just really challenge myself. Now, once I'm out here, so I stopped doing local deals over there. we are now starting to do a couple local deals here. We're still on the virtual model, but like I told my wife and I tell other people, even if we came out here to South Florida, we could have still continued to do the same thing, because I did a lot of driving for dollars too. Like, that's how I got started. When I was door knocking in the mobile home parks, once I started doing mobile home deals, I drove my entire valley for deals. So I could have maybe continued doing that over here, but my goal has always been bigger. My goal has been to be a leader, and grow a team, because ultimately I want to grow and sell a business for $100 million. And I know that that's going to require a team, that's going to require me to be a leader. So I intentionally put myself in this position to start growing a real business, start growing a real team. Ultimately, if I want to, I can go back and like start doing local deals again, buying 1 or 2 houses a year that will get me tremendously rich. Like, I have mentors that's all that they've done. They've just bought 1 or 2 houses a year their entire life, then a couple of deals here and there for the active income. And they're probably worth $20 million right now, maybe a little bit plus or minus. But I always told myself, I know that's enough, but that's not what I'm aiming for. I want to make a bigger impact. And, I don't want to be sitting on my deathbed and just like asking myself, like, man, like, is that all I had?
Yeah. It's so strange, man. Obviously, I'm a gringo. I'm a white guy. As you know, I'm here in Colombia, South America. Yeah. And so it's really given me now 5 years. I've had exposure to Central and Latin American culture, particularly, South American culture. And, dude, there's definitely such a space for a massive leader throughout everybody's got friends and family in the United States. Most of these kids have once lived in the United States. There's really, really a lane there. I don't think anybody has really penetrated or at least covered as much ground as possible out there. And working with the Latino community, both on some obviously rehab sides in the States, but very little acquisitions. Like, it blows my mind, Omar, how many people will try to hire me from Miami or Texas or even California. And then all of a sudden we pull some leads for them and it's a Spanish lead. They're like, hey, what'd you send me a Spanish lead for? We don't have a Spanish closer. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're doing deals in Phoenix, Arizona, and you don't have a Spanish closer? And so there's such a market out there for somebody to look up to people who understand that community as well, too. And so I don't know exactly which lanes you'll go down, but it's just something that I see as a massive gap out there.
I mean, we literally just funded a deal last week, $39K from a Spanish speaker, and and I have my Spanish follow specialist right here. I ended up closing that, and so it was strictly Spanish. So I think that's speaking to what you're saying right there. We were able to capitalize on that deal.
The whole market there's a big opportunity there. So anyways, man, so dude, I love this. You go to Miami. Do you have kids, Omar?
No kids yet.
Okay. All right. So you're free to be able to grind out without necessarily getting hit in the head too often. And that's good. So anyways, you're in Miami, but you're married?
Yeah, I'm married.
Cool. How do you feel about guys going to Miami? Like, is it safe? Because I feel like Miami's one of those cities. I've only lived in Fort Lauderdale, as close as I got, and then I was married. But I always feel like it's one of those cities, like maybe even Medellin here in Colombia. A lot of guys go there with great visions, but they get gobbled up by the city. So have you seen any of that down there?
I personally have not seen it, and you're not the first person that's told me that. But honestly, I have nothing to worry about, and I'll tell you also why. Because it's almost going to be 2 years that I quit drinking alcohol forever.
Amen.
I'm never drinking alcohol again. So I've had people tell me, oh, no, don't go to Miami. Like, Lauderdale, that's fine. Don't go any further. But I've never gone clubbing out here or anything like that. I came with my mindset to grind. We could see there's a city called Sunny Isles. It's right by the ocean. I can see the ocean right here in my office.
Yeah.
So we're a few blocks away. So my goal is to eventually be that multimillionaire, like in the club, and I'll pop bottles if I want, but I'm only drinking sparkling water.
Yeah, only for the staff, only for the team that's there with you, only for the crew that's with you. I get it. Yes. Yeah. I love that about you, man. And for me, I had this conversation with somebody the other day. We were talking about trust and doing business because, there's a lot of relationship building in this industry. And I said what I said, I meant it. It's like, it's hard for me when I know somebody's like, when I go to these events and then I see this other side of them, like I see this other side. It's like, oh, you're partying because your wife isn't here. Oh, that's interesting. Or they're excessively big. I'm just going to call a spade, dude. If you're not taking care of yourself physically, health wise, then there's a misconnect there. So that's just my observation. It's my money. Whoever I want to put it with, I'll choose on my own. But that's one of the things. And so I'm proud of you because Miami is a beautiful city that can inspire you and that can grow you. And so it sounds like you got something good going on. Tell me about your operation, like today, like no bullshit, January 2025. What's happening today, and what did you take away from 2024?
Yeah, so right now, it's about 7 of us.
Nice.
We closed on 1.1 for 2024.
Nice.
Yeah, so right now we are in a stage where I'm on the phone with my team, locking up deals. You know, I think there was a period where I tried to step away from the phones, and then I had like one of my top guys end up leaving. So I kind of had to come in. I feel like we're kind of rebuilding right now.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like we had it going on. I should have continued hiring at that time, or I should have continued staying on the phone with my top closer and just really piling up cash. Right now, we're focused. I'm not, getting distracted too much, like on social media. I'm not trying to go to other events. I'm not doing any extra coaching. I feel like I've done a lot of coaching. I spent a lot of money this last year. I wish I would have kept more money. So one of my focus is just making sure that we stay tight on our expenses and continue helping my team lock up deals right now, getting a couple of follow-up specialists, making the right hires. I feel like we've made bad hires, giving people chances, taking a shot on the person. We'll see if they work out right. But, if it's a maybe, it's a no. So right now we're being very strict with our hiring, just really leading from the front, training a couple of the guys that I have right now to be the next closers. But at the same time, just trying to make sure that in Q2, we're going to give it this whole Q right now for me to just really lock up deals and help the team lead from the front, not move too much, because we had a couple of closers that we thought they were going to shine, but and giving them the training and everything, but they just didn't really have it. So we lost the momentum right there. I said, all right, let me roll up my sleeves. Let me go ahead and help you guys out. Let's get in there. I have an incredible disposition manager. His name is Stefan, and he's like my right-hand man. So
nice.
He's kind of like a manager. He helps me do a little bit of everything. We run like weekly meetings, quarterly meetings, and all that. So right now it's just stay with the existing team. Let's just go ahead and squeeze everything that we can out of ourselves, and then start hiring again in Q2. But really trying to look for that better talent. Either somebody that has really good sales experience, or maybe even somebody else that has wholesale experience. Instead of trying to give people chances.
Yeah, I tell you what, we probably both struggle with. This is my observation after having big things. It's like I look at myself as somebody who was given a chance, whether it was somebody who gave me a shot, or like I met a mentor and I was just all in. And so like, I know I turned myself from nothing to whatever I have today. And so I keep on I put myself on other people when I'm interviewing them. Like I get in front of any kid and I'm like, yo, I think I see it in them. And like, that's how I made so many bad hires over my career. And you still it's so hard, because I'm like, dude, I could change your life. But then I start to realize over time, like, okay, I believe more in them than they believe in them. And so I'm just such an optimistic guy, and I'm such a driven guy that ultimately this year we just hired a new COO, or just hired a COO for this company who will finally get me a little bit better. But I did the same thing last year, dude. I gave too many people chances that if I wasn't such a turn 0 into 100, chicken shit into chicken salad type of guy, nobody else would have given him a chance. So that's something I struggle with. So I feel you when you say that about those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So 2024, what was Mark working in marketing, man? Because hold on. So your first year was 2020 what?
Getting started? Like
where you actually consider oh shit, I got a business.
So I did it all like as a one-man band from from the beginning of 2018 all the way to the beginning of 22. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, like for 5 years. And in those 5 years, that's when I was flipping mobile homes, flipping a couple of houses, and I ended up having a portfolio of like 12 houses. Was able to create like a $2 million net worth. And that was
Nice.
like as a one-man band.
Yeah.
And then I ended up having my wife quit her job in 2021. So 2022 was when I said, you know what? Oh, and it was I got very impacted by my Nick Perry. You know Nick Perry?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Nick Perry and Mike Martinez. You know Mike Martinez?
I haven't personally met him, but I love the guy. I love his social content. Everybody that knows him speaks so highly of him.
Exactly. Yeah. So at the end of 2021, I went to a mastermind with Chris Rude.
Yep.
And that mastermind changed my life. I remember before, because it was in December. So before I got over there, I was goal setting, doing my goal setting. And my goal setting was all about me. Like, okay, I'm going to drive for dollars for like 4 hours a day. And when I come back, I'm going to do cold calling for like 4 hours a day. I had it all planned out. And then I went to the mastermind, and I remember like Nick Perry had bought a Ferrari that weekend. He showed me the wire. Mike Martinez bought a house. There was this other guy that had bought a jet. This guy named Ray Aboud.
Yes. I'm familiar with him.
In his Ferrari. And so I'm seeing all this firsthand. I remember Mike Martinez telling me, like, bro, you're a one-man band. He's like, yeah, you'll never be able to scale like that. He's like, you need a team. You need a team. So officially, with having a team and making it more of a real business was at the beginning of 2022. So it's 22, 23, and 24. Nice.
All right. So you've seen some shifts though. So what are your big takeaways for everybody out there who was in it? Let's see kind of what you saw versus what we saw as well too. But what was your takeaways from like 2024 in regards to the market?
In regards to the market, I guess the main shift that we experienced was at the end of 22, like in the beginning of 23, right? So that was when we really felt that shift, and we had to pivot to novations. And from there, we were writing novations all of 23, 24. Personally, like my take on the market when you're doing nationwide PPC is that I can't say I truly felt it. I felt it more at the end of 22, 23, because my theory is that since we're getting leads in different areas, it's different markets.
Yes.
So it's not like we're dependent on one market, It's not like Miami where it's like one type of real estate market, one supply and demand. I feel like we were getting leads from everywhere. So as long as you're able to negotiate them pretty well, I feel like I couldn't complain about the market itself.
Nice. And is that your main channel, Omar? Is PPC, PPL? What are you doing there for marketing?
Primarily PPC. We just dipped in some direct mail in Q4.
Nice. And then with PPC, are you self-managing?
Self-managing, yeah.
Okay, great. So again, for everybody out there, he's buying Google ads. He's managing his own accounts. He's got his own landing page. Those are his leads and nobody else's leads, and so you effectively control your destiny.
Exactly.
Did you learn the PPC, Omar?
Yeah. So what happened was that was when the market had shifted and we were struggling because we were doing cold calling at the when I got started in the beginning of 2022, it was always cold calling. It always worked. I was a cold caller. And then in the beginning of 2023, still doing cold calling, but we were just getting hammered. That's when the market was really shifting. During that, when everything was hot, investors would, speculate and overpay. But now it was harder to put properties under contract, and we weren't doing novations. So I remember, following Nick Perry and PPC and all that, and how you got to manage your own campaign. So I said, you know what? I got to figure this shit out. So I ended up telling my team one day, I was like, you know what, guys? I'm not coming to the office today. I'm just going to stay at my house and I'm going to learn how to do this PPC stuff. And, I just started diving in a little by little, reading books on PPC, little courses. Yeah. And ultimately what happened was I had a virtual team member that he was like one of our data guys from Egypt, just like handling spreadsheets and all that little miscellaneous tasks. And I told him, hey, let's learn this together. Why don't we learn this together? Like, you can kind of hop on it. I can do it. And then I was like, here are the courses. So he started hopping in and he's like, bro, I love this. And he just like, I was like, all right, well, knock yourself out. I was like, I'm going to learn acquisitions and you just learn the PPC. or I'm just going to continue to do the acquisitions and you learn the PPC. So ultimately, I know enough to defend myself, but he knows
Uh-huh.
way more than I do. And so he's the one that just ended up taking it away, and he manages our campaigns.
Gosh, I love that, dude. That you want to talk about who, not how. Like you don't have to master it all. You have a trusted VA, somebody that's one of your team members, somebody that you can educate and not worry necessarily about them going, because you have that great relationship and they can take the time bandwidth. That was savvy. I like that a lot, man. Are you guys doing nationwide, or is it only certain markets nationwide?
Right now we're in 6 states. We are going to experiment. We were like 25 states at one time, and then 20 states, then 12 states, and then the South, 6 states. It has been working out great for us.
Great.
And then recently, we were at the Mastermind in Cancun with Nick Perry and Sean Terry. And, there's some guys doing $1 million quarters on a nationwide level, or close to nationwide, like 32 states and all that. So I started thinking, okay, well, I mean, we're almost nationwide because we're getting leads in just random areas in the South, So we're going to experiment with a campaign like in maybe 20 states. But that's why we started experimenting with direct mail, because my heart kind of is in South Florida. I kind of want to recognize the market and do more deals, have a funnel to eventually buy more properties myself.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of split testing both, not getting rid of the one that's always worked for me with PPC.
Sure.
Direct mail has began to turn out some pretty fast cash conversion cycles. We're getting like a 4x on that. So, and then they're bigger deals also, like 40 pops, some 25 pops in there. So I kind of like that. So we're going to continue to lean in on it while still running the PPC.
Walk us through what differences you see in seller psychology potential between a PPC and a mail lead. Can you notice it? Do you feel anything different between those leads?
Yeah. So right now with direct mail, it's barely been 3 months, right? We've been doing PPC for like almost 2 years now.
Sure.
I mean, PPC for sure is like hot. I mean, I got a contract last night in Virginia, and the call came in Wednesday night. So it's a one day. Like, these people are just ready. They literally type in "sell my house." We track the UTM parameter. We can see exactly what they're searching up. So super hot. Direct mail, I feel like they're less leads and they're not all the greatest. But the few that we have had, I feel like we've been able to, the ones that we got under contract, we've been able to negotiate them relatively well. It takes a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more educating, not as hot, more like of a medium lead.
Yeah.
But I think maybe because it's in South Florida, South Florida is pretty hot also, right? So you could put something under contract for at a good price, and it's gonna get snatched up. So that's kind of the good thing.
And so let's walk through kind of your sales cycle at a high level. We don't have to go overly granular, but when a new PPC lead comes in, like, what starts happening in Omar's organization? Brand new PPC lead hits the CRM. What next?
New lead. What I'll do is I'll grab a copy paste text message with my name, where I say, "Hey, this is Omar. Just received your web form," because it automatically sends it a text message, but we do it where we have our name. That way, if they have like an iPhone, it can recognize like, hey, maybe Omar, right? So boom, we'll send that, give it a second right there, boom, call it right away, and do a little bit of an intro. Like right away, we stay pretty detached. We say, hey, listen, this is just a discovery call to see if we might even be the right fit for each other. We might find out that we're not. If we think we are, my team of underwriters would submit an offer, but if we're not, I'll probably let you know early on to just point you in the best direction, even if it's not with us. Think that'll help? Yes, boom. Start going into motivation questions, situation, pain questions, impact, what's the solution that you want? Then we start addressing any type of roadblocks. Our motivation part is we like to have a lot of open-ended questions, a lot of labeling, sounds like, or clarifying, like, hey, help me understand, what do you mean by that, right? Just kind of open it up. And then addressing roadblocks, right? Any other influencers? Any are you thinking about listing on the market, staying detached? Hey, you might get more money like that. Other buyers, what kind of feedback, right? Our sales psychology is super detached. You know, we it's like if you get qualified, hey, listen, we don't have to work with each other. We're more calm. We don't like to be enthusiastic, salesy.
Yeah.
We're just very calm, detached. You know, and then from there, and any roadblocks, if we think it's pretty hot or like medium, we'll just go through the conditions, get the conditions out of the way. After that, we try to say like, hey, well, what else do you need to figure out before you're actually ready to sell? You know, and any like other hidden roadblocks? Well, nothing. You know, we want to see like, are you ready or no? From there, we say, hey, listen, I'm gonna have my underwriter check this out to see if it works or not. If I think it works, if they think it works, I'm gonna call you back and share with you the expectations of our offer process. If for whatever reason we think it might not work, the next call is gonna be for me to tell you that. Boom. Underwrite it, come back. If it works, then we say, hey, you know what? It looks like this is something that's you know, they're expressing interest in. You know, like typically, like if they're not interested, this call is just to let you know that. But I don't know what the offer is. Just yeah, they're kind of working on it. It's in the queue. So you know, on the next call, can I share with you our offer process? So the next call, they're gonna want to know. Do you feel that you're in a position to give us a clear no or a clear yes? What I mean is, you know, we have a specific budget that we're allowed to spend on properties every week. So if you say no, that's absolutely fine. We know where we stand. We're not going to touch those funds. But if you say yes, we're literally going to grab those funds, put them on the side for your property, and they're secured. So with that said, do you feel like, you know, because we want to avoid any think about it or any maybes, any let me get back to you. You know, typically that means no. So with that said, do you feel comfortable giving us a clear yes or a clear no? Yeah, I feel comfortable. If they say no, then they're probably not ready. So we don't want to deliver an offer. Or if they say, what's the offer? I don't really know. Like, I just know that they're working on it. Like, I think it might work. We get the price first, right? On the other call. So we know where they need to be at. Boom, come back. You set up any influencers on that call too. Oh, so you mentioned your husband. Can he be on that next call right there? Would it be impossible? No. Okay, boom. Get them all on the line. Come back. Hey, all right. Okay, so you got a pen and paper? I got this FO number for fast home cash offers. It's well, you know, it's a withdrawal number. Literally has these funds associated whenever we deliver a final offer. You can always call into your transaction coordinator and they'll pull up the file and they get it. So from there, give them the phone number, FO1234. You got that? Okay, great. Save that number. Boom. Deliver the offer. At that point, you can avoid, I need to think about it, or maybe because they already gave you the commitment that they wouldn't do that, right? So from there, we try to isolate any objections beforehand so that the very last one, hopefully, is just the price. And, you know, we have a little bit of a negotiation process. We like to pull away. Yeah, so, I mean, it just sounds like it might not work for you, right? Well, I'm not saying that. It's just X, Y, Z. Hey, listen, you know, feel free to tell me no. After that, you know, whatever price point it is right there, we'll try to negotiate it. Let me put you on hold, come back, send the contract, and then transfer it to the transaction coordinator.
Yeah, I love the calm and detached approach. I think that what it does is it allows the seller to sell you on why you should be buying the property. Because I think most wholesalers forget, like, wait a minute, they're selling you their asset. They should be trying to convince you why you should take your limited amount of funds, like you said, and actually spend it to solve their problems versus somebody else's problems. So being that kind of authoritative, detached, and hey, listen, we're analyzing a bunch of properties. They'll have to go to that department in the back there. There's 2 files in front of you. You know, as soon as I get that underwriting done, it would be my pleasure to get back on the phone and give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Just let you know if we have an interest in it and if we don't. But being able to, how you did is like trial close them. But I just want to make sure if they do have interest and I'm able to present an offer, I'm going to be able to get a clear yes from you or a clear no from you. And we accept a no just as graciously as we do a yes. But I just want to make sure that if we can get this and we can allocate those funds, that we're actually going to be able to proceed with spending those funds. And I just don't want to miss out on another opportunity to help Barbara Smith out by, you know, misallocating the funds, whatever it may be. We're all saying the same thing.
Exactly.
But it's so sexy. It's like, It allows the customer. See, I always try to teach people the fear of loss is stronger than the desire for gain. And the customer should should be fearful that you might not buy it. Oh, you would turn it down? Oh, they said no, or they don't underwrite. Like that's stronger than I'm going to give an offer. So that fear that they might not be able to get help is way more powerful than, yes, ma'am, and I'll come back and I'll go ahead and give you a number and hopefully it makes sense. It's like, I got to see if we can even get you a number.
Exactly. And honestly, I want to hit on everything that you just said, because for any wholesalers that are out there listening, just getting started, the faster they can train themselves to do just that, everything that we just said, the faster that they're going to be closing deals and locking them up. And it takes some practice. You got to train yourself. You know, like some books that I have really changed my mindset is like Jim Camp, Start With No. Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar by David Sandler. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Great book. A lot of those, trying to think if there's another one that I can recommend, but I think those are some of the three main ones. Just having that detached approach, because I used to think that I knew how to sell, but it wasn't until about a little over a year ago, I had a former employee that he knew how to close better than I did. And I learned a lot from him. He had studied a lot of these books and everything. And so it can get a little uncomfortable sometimes when you have this old mindset, these old habits of, pushing for the yes, or like, we'll get you an offer, but it'll take some training. And then from there, you just have that detached. Yeah. I mean, right. You probably might not qualify. I got to see if I can get an approval first, calm and detached, collected. And it works. It works way better. Once you dial it in, selling becomes way easier.
Yeah. It's the power of no when you're the person who they think needs a yes. And so a lot of times too, in sales situations, maybe not this one, it's a little bit different, but sometimes customers will ask you about features of your product and you're an eager salesperson. You want to be like, yes, my vacuum cleaner. Of course, yes. But when you can say no and you can cover that, a lot of times it just builds so much value. So you don't have to always be the yes man. Dude, I was looking at something that me and you definitely agree on, is we don't send contracts out unless we have that firm commitment. So can you talk about this? Because I think there's so many gaps I saw when I first stepped into. I've only been in the industry now for, I guess, 5 years now. But dude, I came in and I couldn't understand this thing called projected profit. And then I couldn't understand this concept of sending a contract out. And I sent out an offer today. What does that mean? No. I had 5 offers today or 3 offers today or something. It's like, I don't understand why you guys are sending out contracts and not like keeping the customer on the phone, and not like, I just don't understand. So walk me through your contract process. Let's say Barbara Smith says, yeah, I guess go ahead and send me the contract. Well, what are you doing? Get me to that.
I'm the perfect person to ask that, because I used to be that guy. I used to be the guy that sent out contracts like that. And
hope that they come back in. And you'd be so happy that next day if one came in, you were so happy and surprised. I mean, honestly, right? It was like, yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's, that's coming from a lower status, right? You're just kind of, doing what the seller wants you to do. So one thing about sales too is you got to ensure a high status, right? Yeah. So I used to do that thinking that sales is a numbers game, throw out many lines for fishing and they're going to come back in. But that's not the case. So, and it was actually, I got to give credit to my team member. His name is Retta. He's not working with us. He might watch this one day and it'll put a smile on his face because I learned a lot from him. But yeah, he used to tell me the same thing. Like, hey, because see, the thing is that I got successful or to this point from determination and grit and being able to do it, right? But it wasn't until about a year ago where I just realized, man, for sales, there's a lot more that I need to be learning. Yeah. So I used to send out the contracts also hoping that they'll come back signed. But now it's like, no, our offers, they're precious. They're kind of like gold, and so we give them to people that deserve it and that really want it. You kind of gotta fight for it. You got to show me that you're qualified.
Amen.
Because we have these funds that we're gonna spend, and we don't cavalierly just give these offers. So step number one is we got to make the verbal offer first. And so if they say, yeah, send me the contract, we just say, hey, listen, like, yeah, we just don't give out offers like that. Like, I wouldn't even want to waste your time. First, I'd have to see if you even agree to it verbally. And we're first trying to discover that right now. Like, because if we find out that we're not even a good fit, then we're not even going to submit you an offer. So the contract, like, that's like step 7. We're barely in step 3 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's smart, man. And I came into it. I saw that, and I saw project. I saw a couple of things. There's very small tweaks that can be made. What I love, though, is when it's all said and done, guys like me, guys like you, whomever it is, if you take this industry seriously, there's such a land of opportunity here. So walk me through real quick, Omar. What are your 2025 your goals? What it is that you plan on doing for this upcoming year?
Absolutely. So this year, our target is $1.8 million
Nice.
revenue. We're aiming for 30% profits.
Nice.
Our goal is to have 2 solid closers alongside of me, because all it really takes is one solid closer to really help you lift up your boat. You have one solid closer that they could generate close to $1 million per year. So our goal is to have 2 solid ones. We know that we're probably going to have to go through 6 of them. Maybe retain 2, not have the other 4. So our focus this year is going to be on hiring the right people. Hiring the right people. We understand that the business is made of the people. So, me and my team member Stefan are really just going to focus, dial in our interviewing, hiring, onboarding, and training process to really just have a well dialed in system, and just really have these team members come in and just live with the fact that not everybody's going to work out, because that's kind of been the thing with us in the past. That's a little engine in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
Having high talent going through your door, it's just to try to find the right one. So this year is our breakthrough year to make sure that we get past that and get more comfortable with it. Brandon, Nick Perry's CEO, says the reason that you're not good at hiring is because you haven't done it long enough. So that's like one little engine, like marketing, like your PPC campaigns, like your acquisition closures that you got to keep going. That's another little engine that this year we're going to get really good at. So that way we can enter 2026 with those 2 solid closers, because in order for us to hit our 3-year targets, which is $4.5 million in 3 years from now, we got to enter the beginning of 2027 with 5 closers. So that means that we got to get 2 and retain 2 this year, because by the end of next year, we would need to have another 3. So we need to get the ball rolling.
I love just talking to guys who have a 2-year plan, 3-year plan, got it mapped out, dude. This is serious stuff we're talking about right here, dude. I love it. I'm so, like I said, I've been following you. I know who you are from social media. Dude, it's been great to kind of get to hear a little bit of your story. Obviously, I see myself and a lot of people, but like your hunger, you have raw ambition, dude. And there's more stuff that we didn't talk about that I have in my show notes. But you just seem like a guy who's like serious about improving himself and like doing the right things. And if you're in South Florida, you're a closer, dude, you should reach out to Omar. If you're working for a guy that doesn't seem to be as passionate, or you're a rock star closer, whatever, reach out to Omar. And even too, if you got deals in some of these markets that he discussed, how do they reach out to you, Omar? How does somebody find you and be like, dude, I love your energy. I'd like to work alongside you in some capacity.
Yeah, I think the main place is Instagram, at the Omar Lopez. That's right there. At the Omar Lopez. Oh, at the _ Omar Lopez for anybody that's listening and not watching. So that's me right there. You guys can reach out on my DMs.
Cool, man. Dude, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure to get to know you. I appreciate you sharing some of those sales secrets at the end that you guys are using to do millions of dollars in revenue over the past few years, dude. Thank you so much for coming out. I wish you the best, bro.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
All right. Be easy, my man.
Thank you.